Okay, maybe it's on. Let me see. If you are watching the replay, go ahead and jump a couple minutes forward, because I'm just the first minute or so I'm gonna be like making sure things are working and probably posting out the stream so that people can jump on here. But I don't see it. I'm not seeing it yet. Maybe we aren't live. Oh wait, I do see on YouTube. It looks like we're live. It's weird that Restream doesn't show that. Let me see if I look. Yep, we are live. Okay, sweet. Yeah, jump on in. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, just jump ahead like a minute, because I'm gonna send out like a post to get some people in on here, and which is this one right here. But yeah, we're gonna have. This is looking good. Let's go ahead and cast that out, and then I will post it on the Stoke Fire Twitter. And we're gonna do some building today. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. Okay, that's looking good. Welcome. Thanks for joining. You couldn't see what I was doing. Okay, sweet. I think I sent out everything, so we're gonna get started. Okay, what are we gonna cover today? Today, we're mostly gonna be doing some building on the smart contracts for Stoke Fire. I've been working on basically making these like weekly battles that are happening. It's all on chain. Been working on making those, and I then kind of got interrupted by Apple. So Apple, we had our apps on the Apple App Store, we had it on the Android App Store, and Apple decided that they didn't like our app anymore. I think kind of what happened is they probably didn't know really everything that was going on in the Stoke Fire game, and Apple's not really a fan of crypto, and really what they're not a fan of is they don't want there to be any way of you getting around their 30% fee. That's kind of one of the main things.
I didn't get that.
Let's see, everyone can hear me, right? I think you can hear me. I think so. You can always reply on YouTube or in the chat on Twitter if you can hear me or not. I think we're good. Anyways, so yeah, I think what happened is they kind of then somehow they learned more that like, oh, there's actually more on-chain stuff going on Stoke Fire. Like the cool thing of Stoke Fire is like, if you were a player, it's very possible you have no idea that you're doing stuff on chain. Like you're gathering wood, you're doing things, and it's actually a transaction on chain behind the scenes, but you wouldn't have to know that, which is kind of nice. Like that's kind of the point. Like we want to make it easy for people to play the game, even if they don't know crypto stuff, and you have a wallet behind the scenes and stuff like that. But Apple doesn't really like that because there are fees and things going on behind the scenes, and they don't get a cut of that. So I haven't really talked to them a ton either. It's kind of just like they send you a notice like, hey, we're taking your app down, and then it's like you can fight about it if you want to. And I think I might someday in the future, like maybe it will make sense. But right now, it just doesn't make sense with the things I'm trying to do. I feel like it would be a super long process. And so kind of starting out, what I thought made more sense is to build a web app version, which is this right here. So this is the web app version, and it's basically a recreation of the mobile app. So this is what I've been working on like the last week because of these Apple issues. But in some ways, I see it as a good thing in that I can. The nice thing about a web app is you can kind of build faster. Like you don't have this app review process. You can just push a commit that changes the app and it's just live, like right away. It just boom, it's there. So it's in some ways it's easier and faster to iterate on a web app, and so I like that. We can do like an app version. I don't know why I'm forgetting what that's called, where a VPN, VPL, I don't know, I forget. Where basically you have a web app, but then you can have it on your home screen on your mobile phone. And so that's what we're going to do with this. So you'll have like a desktop version, you can have a mobile version, and then we can do a Warpcast V2 frame, which I think will be really cool. So there's some good things that come out of it, and I've started to share this with some people, this web app version, and people seem to like it. But yeah, there's some rough things on the edges, and so I just got to make sure all those are kind of squared away before sharing it with everybody. But yeah, so I've been working on the web app. Let's see, people even seeing, yes, they're seeing that I'm live, so that's good. Let's see what other news I can share, and then maybe we'll take a look at the Stoke Fire dashboard as well and see how that's been going. Actually look at some of our data on chain. I think that will be cool to do. It's still weird that it still says on Restream it doesn't show that I'm live, but pretty sure I'm live. Just wanting to make sure it's working. I think it's working. I see no brag live on there, so that's good. And I'll move over to I have another screen, so here we are. Okay. Yes, someone's there. Okay. So where was I? So another news is, which I shared this yesterday, is that I hired my first full-time employee. So pretty stoked, Stoke Fire. I'm pretty stoked about this. Kelvin is his name. He's joining me. And so it's just me and Kelvin right now. It's been me by myself kind of up to this point. Stoke Fire is now like 5-ish, maybe 4 or 5 months old now since we kind of, I've been building it for maybe 6 months, and then we launched maybe 4 months ago. So yeah, so it's been myself up to this point, and Kelvin is jumping in to help me move faster. He's building stuff, I'm building stuff. We just got a lot of stuff to build. So really stoked for Kelvin to be joining me. It's going to be fun working with him, and I've already been starting to work with him. We've been doing stuff together for almost 2 weeks now. 2 weeks now, but just shared this out, so I'm excited for that. And then, all right, let's jump into some of the stats. So, and maybe it'll just be good for me to explain some of these stats, so that you kind of know what they are a little bit. It's hopefully pretty self-explanatory. We've got kind of some high-level numbers of like how many people are playing, how many villages there are, how many have minted, lifetime players, transactions. We reached over 1 million transactions maybe a week ago now, so that was pretty cool. These are the amount of rewards that have been given out to players, things like that. And then here's some tokenomics stuff. So this one's pretty cool. We're getting really close to 5% of the fire supply burned. So 150,000 fire out of 10 million have been burned. If we scroll down to the bottom, this graphite is a cool one because it shows how much fire every day is being burned. And so you can see that we started to hit some highs on how much fire is being burned. And this is all burned by players in the game, so it kind of shows that there's demand for players to use this in the game, which is cool. We had a little drop off right here because as a part of the iOS app being taken from the App Store, I made a decision to make the amount of time that you have to stoke your fire be 5 days instead of 3 days, just kind of for those few days. So we had less people stoking the fire, which is when you burn some tokens to kind of keep your village going. And you can see with this pie chart here that 64% of fire burned is from players that are stoking fire, which is just them continuing on their village, where these other options are like kind of 2 ways to burn the fire to kind of grow your village faster, basically. So most of the fire is being burnt, 64%, through stoking. And since we kind of extended that, we had a day or two where it kind of dropped, but we're moving back up here. So yeah, that's very cool to see. Let's see. So Andrew has a question. This is a good question. Why are players spending more than they are? Oh, where did the question go? Than they are earning. So we have distributed USDC, distributed ETH, rewards. So this is all coming from the Fire volume, right? So 2% of Fire volume is going to the players. And so why is it less? So the reason is, how I see it is that there's going to be times in Stoke Fire's life where there's going to be more rewards or less rewards based on the Fire token. And I think the reason for that is, in crypto, tokens are very volatile, and a lot of times volume comes and goes, especially for a small cap coin like Fire. A lot of times, a lot of the volume is going to come within a couple day time, and then you'll probably have weeks or multiple weeks of not much volume, and then ideally there'll be some volume coming back. It just, I think crypto mostly usually is a compact time of a lot of volume, and then things will kind of stabilize. So I think that's kind of what we see. And actually here, this is a really good chart for ETH rewards. So you can kind of see the volume days, and you can kind of see that we have gotten to less rewards recently, just because we haven't had as much volume on Fire. And so in some ways, I think you almost have to see your village as something you're working on, where, yeah, you're going to have to maybe spend more to keep it going. But hopefully, and this is what would be kind of your hope as building a village, that we'll have some higher days of rewards, especially if your village is growing faster than other players, that you'll then get rewards later for that. So in some ways, you have to kind of see your village a little bit as an investment in some ways, something that can hopefully make you money in the future. So ideally, we'd have more rewards. And that kind of gets to what I'm working on right now, is kind of switching around how our rewards will work a little bit, which will hopefully help with some of that. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Andrew, let me know if you have like a follow-up to that or something like that. Yeah, so anything else to mention here? Okay, so active players, you can see that we have kind of had a little bit of a drop-off. So we got up to our peak at 2,900 active players. So these are players that are making at least a transaction every day. So every day they're making a transaction, they're doing stuff on their village. And so we have dropped a little bit. We're now kind of somewhat, we dropped, and then now we're kind of, it seems like starting to get a little bit more of a stable number of around 1,600. And so I think, in some ways, I think this is expected, in that as our rewards kind of got smaller, any players that were kind of here just to play for trying to get rewards, they probably saw like, oh, I'm not getting that many rewards, and so then they stopped playing. Ideally, rewards is like part of the game. Like, yes, we want it to kind of be a way where potentially you can make some money playing, but hopefully the other ideal is that you're having fun playing. Like that's kind of the goal of the game. It's a fun game that you like to play, but also you're maybe making some rewards doing it. And maybe you're not going to become rich with a village. I'm not promising that at all. But there are, in crypto land, there's a lot of players, people, users, traders that are coming around, and that is basically their goal. They're trying to become rich. So those people probably will fall off, and that's okay, frankly. So yeah, we have dropped off a little bit, but hopefully we'll stabilize here. You can see this is how many new villages are being minted every day. We're down to around like 15, 20. But it's also dropped maybe because I haven't sent out invites over the last week, just because of the iOS app issue. So once we start to pick up, I think, I feel like there's promise. Anyways, that is kind of my overview of some of these stats. Hopefully that's helpful. Still not seeing, which is annoying. Usually I could see all my chat messages in Restream, but it's not looking like it's connecting. So can't see anything. Let me see if there's any other questions or anything. Not right now, but yeah, if you have a question, feel free to message. I wonder if it's on YouTube. Let's see if we have anything on YouTube, because I can't see very well over there. Okay, yeah, so you can do a chat on YouTube or on Twitter, and I will look at it periodically and see it. Okay, so now kind of getting to what I'm working on today, and that is smart contracts of the new kind of reward system that I was kind of mentioning. And kind of how that's working is every week we're going to have a battle where you are competing with your neighbors in your neighborhood, and the player that gets the most villagers added percentage wise. So the most gained percentage. So basically, the person that has grown their village the most that week, they are going to win for the week, and they're going to get a boost of extra score, extra points, extra score, however you want to call it, which will then get them more rewards. And so, kind of the idea is that 0.5% of the 2%. So I guess you would say 25% of the rewards are now going to eventually, once I have this live, are going to start going towards these players that are winning. So the idea is it's going to kind of shift some of the rewards a little bit towards not just big villages, but villages that are also competing well, they're doing well, they're winning against their neighbors, and then they would maybe move up to the next neighborhood for the following week to compete with those neighbors. So that's kind of how this will work. And so there's been quite a bit of things that I'm having to do on chain to make this happen. So here's some of the smart contracts that I'm working on. So like one of the things that we had to do was make it so that we can kind of keep track and sort all these villages on chain so that we can put them all in a neighborhood based on how many villagers they have. So the village that's at the top of the leaderboard, they're going to have the most villagers, and so they're going to be in the number one neighborhood with all the other neighborhoods that have the most villagers. And then, we'll go down 10 by 10 villages each, and that's where each kind of village will get put into a neighborhood that way. And so this code is kind of the code that's doing that on chain. It's adding villages, it's removing them. It's going to call this update whenever a village moves from one neighborhood to another. And so that's kind of how this works. And the next part that I need to do, because I've already added tests and things for this, I have all these different tests down here. And so what I need to do is actually emit the data, emit these events, so that we can keep track of how everything's set up off chain. So that is going to be kind of what we're doing to start out in the live stream, is working on emitting these events. And then after that, I might be even working on the indexer to index these events so that we can, just keep track of all this stuff off chain, and that's how we'll then show it in the app and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're gonna start. Let me know if you have any questions. Just check a couple of those places, and then we can jump in. And it can be questions about the game or what I'm working on or coding as well. Okay, so basically we have to admit whatever is actually. You guys probably couldn't hear me at all. I just realized my mic was over there. Could you guys even hear me? You can probably hear me now, I would hope. But I probably sounded like a mouse previously, which really stinks because I just went through 15 minutes. GM Mike. I probably just went through 15 minutes of talking where you could not hear anything. Oh boy. Someone should have said something. All right. Well, I guess it is what it is. Now, hopefully you can hear me a lot clearer. Now I'm actually audible. So Mike, were you able to hear me at all? Could you even hear what I was saying? I just talked to the whole Dune dashboard and everything. I spent all this effort. Anyways. Hopefully I won't do that again. Just not talking to the mic. Okay, so kind of what this is doing here is we have to say that this village ID was added to this neighborhood. And I think off-chain, we can check for if that neighborhood doesn't exist, we'll create a new neighborhood, which is kind of what's happening on-chain here. So I think this is good. I think this will work. I think that's pretty much all we have to do there for the most part. Okay. So then Let's make another event. This will probably have the village ID getting removed and also the neighborhood that we're removing it from. Okay, so let's see what this is doing. And the other thing that's tricky, I think, yes, when doing this, and this is where I'm going to need to do some testing probably to see how much gas this takes, is we then have to remove other villages, or we have to move villages up potentially. Like it's going to have to move villages up into the higher neighborhood because this village got removed. So that could be a decent amount of things to update off chain as well. We're gonna have to like basically go down each neighborhood. Thank you, Beaky. Yeah, glad you're enjoying the game. I will continue to make progress on it, so thanks. Okay, so and maybe we potentially have some more people jumping in. Oh yes. Hey Jesse, thanks for maybe stopping by. Thanks for replying. That's cool. Yes, I can. We are just, for those that are just hopping in, basically we're working on some smart contracts for Stoke Fire where we have to sort villages into a neighborhood. Because going forward, I've been working on kind of this new competition, a weekly battle where every week the villages will be competing with their neighbors to see who can grow their village the fastest that week. And then we'll give extra rewards to whoever is first that week. And so to do that on chain, we have to do quite a bit of sorting to like put villages in the correct neighborhood. And so that's what I'm kind of working on here. I already have the code for the most part that's adding villages to the neighborhoods, removing them. And so then we just have to add some events that will help us track all what's happening. And I've even written some tests for a lot of this stuff already. So yeah, if you're jumping in, have questions, just let me know. And I can answer anything about Stoke Fire or whatever. So, okay, so basically, I think all we do have to do in this remove function is just omit village ID and neighborhood. That should be it, but the indexing function will have to do a bit more work, I think, to track, if we need to remove a neighborhood potentially, like if we're removing the last village of all neighborhoods, like the lowest neighborhood, then we're potentially having to remove that. So we're trying to see, removing that village. So this would be current neighborhood ID. I think I'm updating, I believe. Max village. No, I'm updating next ID. So just making sure, can I use this? I think so. All right, so we'll use that as our second parameter here. And then instead of village ID, we have to do village.village ID. And that should fix that. So if I'm thinking about this right, when I index this, basically we find the neighborhood, we remove that village ID from that neighborhood on our database, and then we basically are going to walk down all of the neighborhoods below this neighborhood and update them. So this is the one thing I'm a little bit worried about. I don't know if there's like smart contract gurus on here. This is where potentially this function, even on chain, because we're doing a while loop. Say we have like 1,000 neighborhoods. This is, and the village from the top neighborhood is removed. We're going to have to go through every single other neighborhood and do like a replace, swap a village to the higher village. So yeah, there is quite a lot of stuff going on here. And I knew this was kind of like a first version of this that might not work, because one person, this is going to be called by one person, and it's then doing all that work. So after this, maybe we'll do like a gas test to see like how much gas is being used by this. And if that's the case, we could do something maybe smart, like, I don't know, only letting 5 or so neighborhoods be updated at once, and then later someone else comes and like updates the rest. The good news is this sorting list does not have to be sorted immediately. Basically, we have a week to get everything sorted, right? Because kind of what happens is we sort the neighborhoods as kind of villages are being moved around, and then at the end of a week battle, we then basically save what a neighborhood is at that state, and that stays the same for the rest of that week as those neighbors are battling, and then it will update to the next sorted list of where people are at. So basically we have a week to potentially update things, and so there might be a smarter way where over time we can kind of like slowly sort the list of neighborhoods, but that's going to be a little bit tricky to make sure we do it right. So yeah, it's going to be tricky. Yeah, welcome if you're joining. I'm working on Stoke Fire. Let me know if you have any questions. Working on the smart contracts and the logic around sorting our villages into neighborhoods. And then we're emitting events. You're glad you're not in the first the first like 10 minutes of the stream. I'm pretty sure my mic was over there, and so I don't think anyone could hardly hear me. So I guess that's how it is if you're early. If you show up early, that's what happens. Okay. Hey, I am Jackie. Wait, this is animated. You're glad to see the progress, but you're also a bot, so I don't trust you. Okay. Anyways. Let's see, is anything else? Anyone else commenting on something? Okay, no. So yeah, so this is all we have to do. We have to emit that event. We'll handle that in the indexer here in a bit, see how that works. And then update village neighborhood. What this is going to do is potentially moves a village up a neighborhood or down a neighborhood based on their village count. And if it's the same, then we just return, nothing happens. So in this case, I don't think we need to emit anything. There's nothing to emit. But if we get all the way down here and this village has changed, then we're going to emit an event. So we'll just call it that. And the question is, what all is this going to need to know so that we can correctly index this? So village ID. Neighborhood. So at least have that. Okay. Current neighborhood ID we'll put as the second param. Looks like that's good. We don't ever update it. So there's that. And then I think we'll do village ID there. Okay, I'm trying to see if we need any other information to do this. I mean, we could omit, if we want to do less logic, which we probably do in Stoke Fire indexer, we could potentially emit like what neighborhood, what's this new neighborhood, what was the old neighborhood, what's the new neighborhood. But it's going to have to redo some of this logic anyways. And so I'm not sure if that really makes sense. We could omit this is positive change as well, just so that we can like more easily replicate this logic. If it's a positive change, then we're going to go up in neighborhood, and that's why it sets this next ID that way. If it's not, then we go backwards. And so we'd have to do that. The other thing you could do with something like this is within each while loop, we emit an event of basically all of the new villages or what's replaced. So it's like we're replacing one village with another village within a neighborhood, and we could admit that got replaced, and then it updates. But that creates a lot more events. It would probably be kind of messy, so I think that's probably a bad idea. So I don't think we'll do that. I think it's safest probably just to emit, the is positive change as well. And then we can recreate this logic off chain. And I'll have to, I can figure this out a little bit while I am updating the indexer as well. I'm just thinking through to make sure that this is the best way to do things on here. So the other thing that I'm going to have to do, which will be a little bit tricky, is ideally kind of how this sorting works is as villages are minted, it calls this function to add that village to a neighborhood. And so the problem is we're adding this to the system, to the smart contracts after the fact. We already have got tons of villages on chain, right? So basically I'm going to have to make kind of like a migration function that's going to basically update all of this data to our current state. And it's going to have to kind of place villages in the neighborhood they should be based on the current state. And so I'm going to have to make a function that's just kind of like a upload. It's like going to upload the neighborhoods basically. So I'm going to have to like do some work off, which we already have, because we already have like the neighbors created off chain and like sorted and all that. So I'll just basically be running a script that will then
update that data on chain to kind of migrate us over. And then going forward, these functions and things can be called and should work. So, yeah, so that's kind of another step that I need to take and think through a little bit. And another part of that could be tricky is our indexer will have to handle that as well. So maybe this upload function that's, it's an only owner function where I'm just like updating the current state. It's going to have to emit some events that will allow our indexer to track that as well. Either that, or what would be ideal is maybe this might work. I might be able to actually just call, but that would be expensive. I was basically thinking I could call these functions myself to like add villages to neighborhoods. But that would probably be an expensive way to do it instead of if I had like an extra function that's just like setting the neighborhoods right away. So yeah, there's kind of a lot to think through with that. That's kind of the tricky part of adding something later that's like tracking data that we already have a state for. So it's like we have to get everything up to speed on what the state should be. So yeah, I'll have to think about that, but we're not quite there yet. Okay. Let me see here. So what I need to do now is we need to get the ABI for all of our updates. We need to also make a new branch. What did I call it here? Neighbors. So this is for the front end code, but in the same repo, I have the indexer. So I have all these different projects in this mono repo. And I think what I need to run is npm run gen ABI. Will generate for us the ABI files for the smart contract that we just updated and changed. Sweet, so we've got that. And then if I bring that code down here, so this is what I just generated. I'm just going to copy it. I need to fix that script to update some of these. Oops. Yes. Because right now I'm just copying it over, but we'll just do that for now because I have a couple places that use the ABI. So really I should just generate them into the same place, but here's our indexer. And I can make this a little bigger so you can actually see it. Okay, so there's that. That should have our updates now. Okay, and so now you can kind of see how our indexer works a little bit. We're using Ponder. When I say we, I kind of mean I. But Ponder is amazing. It's an open source indexing framework for indexing smart contract stuff, events. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. I like it a lot. Definitely check it out if you're building smart contracts and you need to keep your data up to date. Ponder makes it easy. And so basically you have like all these events, and for each one, Ponder handles that event, and then we put it in a SQL database. And so yeah, there's all this code that's doing that. And so that's now what we're going to do to update things based on these events that we just added. So let's make a folder neighborhood. Just kind of keep track of some of these. New file, and we'll do on, whoa, what did I just do? It's not what I wanted. Just hit some key. Where did my menu go? Here we go. On add village to neighborhood.ts. And let's just take this to kind of get us started over here. Okay, so we got that. So we're going to need a new neighborhood table in our database, and we're going to need to be able to hold some villages in it. And I think, because it will probably match more closely to, it will match what we have on chain. I'm thinking that this neighborhood, if we look at our schema, I think we'll just have an array of the villages that are in it. I think that will make the most sense. The other option would be to have each row is basically just a village ID and a neighborhood ID. And then you would just query for the neighborhood ID and get multiple rows. What's easier though? That's the question. I think really you could do either. I don't know if there's really one bad, if one's worse over the other per se. Like even in our logic, we'd grab multiple and then we'd have to like update just one of them, or we're updating a whole neighborhood of IDs. Well, I guess the other thing to think about though, if we look at our data for what a neighborhood is, a neighborhood also has this time battle started, time last week reward. So like it'd be nice if these were things were all connected, and then we could just have an array of the village IDs. I think, and we know that we're only going to have 10. So I think that's probably is the best way to go. Like just make a table with rows similar to this. But we also are have like another data storage of just the sorted versions that doesn't need this data. It's just literally the village is sorted. So for that one, we could do something different potentially. But and probably so if you're querying for villages, you'd have to be harder if it was in an array, I think, because then you can't like do joins and stuff very easily. So maybe it is better to have them separate, at least for this portion. Because if I had them not separate, you'd have to basically grab the village or the neighborhood, and then you have to do another query to get the villages that are in that neighborhood. Or if you just needed the neighborhood ID, you could just grab all villages that were in a neighborhood. Which actually, I can already do that. That's a good point. So the other thing that we're gonna do, I don't even know, is what I'm talking about even making sense to anybody? I'm just like talking about random code stuff that I'm working on, but it's very much things that I know because I've been working on this stuff. I don't know if anyone else knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, if you have a question, want me to clarify something, go ahead, ask a question, and I can try to explain something. So here's the village data, the data for each village. And we are going to be saving what neighborhood each village is in, and we're going to be saving what sort of neighborhood they're in. So actually, off-chain, we really don't need another database, I don't think. That's true. There's no point. We just update the village, and then you can query by villages to get which villages are in a sorted neighborhood, or you can query to see which ones are in a specific neighborhood, and then we'll probably just have this extra data on a neighborhood table. We don't need this array. I think that's way better. Makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Villagers that start a battle. So we're gonna have to do some stuff with that. But so let's just add these three right now. And we'll add it to this village data. So this is going to be a sort of neighborhood. This will be a big int, actually. All these will be big ints. I feel like I'm moving kind of slow today. All right, so we've got that. So on adding, so on this, village ID, we grab a village, and we're just going to update its sorted neighborhood ID. To that. And that's pretty much it, actually. I think that's all we need to do. We're not going to add any neighborhoods for this. So technically, I could be doing an upsert here. But the annoying thing about upserts is you have to basically add all the creation data. And I was, I guess, lazy and did not do that. Okay, so now we'll do on remove. I think it's from neighborhood. Yes. Copy this. And really, it should just be the opposite of what we just did. So it should be pretty simple. If we remove it, I guess we're just setting it to 0 technically. We're grabbing that village. We don't really care about what neighborhood it's in because we're not storing that data. It wants to be a big int. We will make it be a big int for you. There you go. We don't need all this extra stuff. So I think that's really all we need there. We're just gonna set it to 0 because this thing got kicked out. This village is no more. It is not in the neighborhood at all. So, and then our last one, which is on update. So in this last one, we were given the village ID. We didn't even need the current neighborhood because it's getting removed. So that's fine. This one will get village ID, current neighborhood, and if it's positive. So this is going to be the one where we're going to have to do a bit of work. And I might see if AI can help us kind of jumpstart it. I just like to copy these so that I'm for sure getting the right event there. Okay, so let's put a couple new lines in here and let's copy. Oh, we did forget something. So we're gonna have to do some more work on this indexing event. Because it could potentially move a lot of villages around, potentially. So we'll have to kind of revisit that. Or let's just do it right now. We want to do remove first, so. So what I'm at least going to do to start, so I'm going to copy all this. And I'm just going to see what the AI can do with it. Can you turn this solidity logic and can you transform this solidity logic into TypeScript code to index the data in the villages for what each village's new sorted neighborhood ID should be and update it. All right, let's see what it can help us with to kind of get started, and then we'll probably most likely have to update things. So before we do like this replace thing, It is pretty crazy. We don't really need any of this. All right, apply that. We'll accept it for now and kind of walk through this. Don't need a neighborhood. That's not something we do. Get max village ID from next neighborhood. They have some logic around the neighborhood that potentially is going to mess us up. Okay, so what's going on here? So we've got the current neighborhood ID. Do we need to keep track of our last neighborhood? That's a good question. That is something we could do if it makes it easier for us to track everything. I think we might have to, actually. Yeah, to do logic this way. So we could make it a global. So we just have a global for it because we're just using that ID. We're going to have to do some things different because we don't have the neighborhood data, but I think that's okay. So I have this table with our globals. Where'd it go? Right here. I think we can do an int. Well, it is a big int on chain, I believe. Yeah. So I have a big int here, and then we're going to have to be updating it. So every time we add, we'll have to do this as well. Last neighborhood. So I think what we will do is do like an if. Man. If event dot neighborhood ID dot args dot neighborhood ID is greater than this one. So we'll have to get that. Dot find unique. What is it? Find. Find many. And we're really just going to take the first one we can get. How's it going? I'm kind of tired myself. I feel like I'm moving like a snail. So if it's that, then we're going to have to update this to be this. Start out like that. Let's see, find the first entry in global. There's only one. Is there a find first? I didn't think there was a find first. Find. Oops. Don't I have global? I just have upserts maybe. Trying to see how I'm finding usually the one. I guess I'm always just upserting. Wait a second. Why did my Twitter stream the title is wrong again? Working on swapping UI for Stoke Fire Live. That's not what I'm doing. It's not what we're doing right now. That's annoying. Restream is failing me right now. Alrighty, well, I feel like I'm definitely not going at full speed here. What's the deal? So we're gonna do find many, and this will just get us a lot, and then we can take the first one, maybe. That should never be the case, typically. Globals, items. Do I have to do? Yes. Why can't I just take the first one? What's going on here? Last neighborhood. Did I spell this wrong? There we go. I feel like my editor is bugging out. It's showing me wrong options and things there. So possibly undefined. We also can't compare these. import that. What do we do? Something like this? I mean, something like this. Big number. There we go. All right, so now we're actually updating this and adding to it. And then we'll do something kind of similar on our remove. At the end. So maybe just do it down here. So if the neighborhood ID, which I guess we do have, yeah, if the one we're removing is now lesser, then we're going to update that and it will remove that. If I don't declare it, that's fine. Okay. We might as well grab this up here because we're going to need it. All right. How are we doing? Seeing if there's any, do we have any chatter? I'm definitely, I feel like I'm not on my A game right now. So maybe I should just do something else. If it's not working, then don't force it. You know what I'm saying? Because I am kind of tired right now. It is hard to do live streaming and coding at the same time and talking. It's like multitasking. It's got to like do all three of these things at the same time. And I don't know. Sometimes you're just not up for it. I'm not feeling it right now. Yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for stopping by. I cannot even code if one person watch. What? Some random replies on some of these tweets that don't make sense. Well, how long have we even been going for? Maybe 45 minutes, maybe? Oh, we have been over an hour. We've been over an hour. Well, maybe that's also why I should call it. But yeah, hopefully this was somewhat entertaining a little bit. Me trying to figure out what I'm doing. Yeah. We're continuing to work on Stoke Fire and got a lot of work to do. There's so much stuff to do. It's kind of crazy, but it's fun. It's all great. I'm enjoying the building process, and it's fun having people playing the game and enjoying the game. So that always makes me excited, and it motivates me to work on the game. So thanks for stopping by if you did, and I'll probably do another one of these maybe sometime next week. Try to share some more of what we're working on. If you haven't played Stoke Fire, I don't know, reply to the tweet, reply on Warpcasts, and someone will probably give you an invite so that you can try it out. I will see you